Good morning, good afternoon, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar this morning, this afternoon, this evening on living processes with Bonita BPM. With me, I'm Miki Ferrance, and our key presenter today is Sapna Maheshwari. And in this webinar today, we're going to say a few things about, let's go ahead. We're going to say a few things about Bonitasoft, the company, a little bit about Bonita BPM, which is our flagship product, and then we're going to go into our webinar directly, and I'll hand everything over to Sapna, who's going to set the stage for why living process is a thing. Why are we even talking about living process? Followed by a demo example showing how the philosophy of living process can be integrated effectively into a real process using specific features of the Bonita BPM suite. So while we're going through the webinar today, please feel free to enter your questions in the lower right of your GoToWebinar screen, and we'll collect those questions, and at the end of the session we'll address the questions that you've sent in. And during today's session, we're going to be live tweeting about what we're seeing and what we're learning using the hashtag Bonita BPM. So feel free to join us while we're doing that throughout the next hour. So just a little bit about Bonitasoft. We are, in fact, the leading provider of open source BPM software. We've been downloaded by users all around the world, and we're supported by a very active community. And this year, we've just celebrated our 5th anniversary. So we're 5 years old as a company. And although it says 975 on our slide here, we in fact have just signed our 1,000th customer over our 5 years. Our subscription edition is paid, and the free version is the community version is available free from our website. You can trot on over to www.bonitasoft.com and download our software, community edition, if you haven't already done that. So paid subscription editions are also available in addition to our free community edition, and our customers use the subscription editions because it comes with customer support, and it also comes with advanced features that help for developers to create process-based applications more effectively, more efficiently, and a little bit faster. So I'd like to tell you just a little tiny bit about our flagship product, which is Bonita BPM. It's now available in version 6.3. And in this integrated software is a graphically based design studio, which is based on BPM2 standard. It's because it's graphically based, it's very easy to design a process model using drag and drop. And then in this studio, you can actually turn a process model, a graphical process model, into an application connected to other information systems with web forms that can be used for end-user interface. Connectors in Bonita BPM allow you to connect this application to other systems, IT, such as databases, CRMs, ERPs, email, and so on, quickly and easily. And when the application is deployed, in the Bonita BPM portal, we have a useful interface for end users of the process application and for process administrators via desktop and via mobile applications. And it's also possible to integrate standalone web forms into your own application instead of using the BPM portal. So now I'll go ahead and I'm going to turn the driver's wheel over to Sapna so she can explain a little bit about the structure of Bonita BPM, and then we'll get into living process live.
Thank you very much, Miki. Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar on living process. Hope you'll find this session enjoyable, just as enjoyable as it was for us when we designed the demo and the process for you. So before we jump into living process itself, I'd just like to give a small introduction to the architecture of Bonita BPM platform. So as Miki described, the very first component, as you can see here, is the Bonita BPM Studio. It's an Eclipse-based thick client, only on desktop, using which you or your analysts and developers can model and develop the processes. Once the processes are designed, they are deployed onto Bonita BPM engine, which is the heart of the platform. This execution engine is designed using the SOA principles, and therefore you can see the very modular architecture of the services that make the execution engine. Of course, there is connection or the connector framework which the engine executes to be able to talk to the external systems. And on top of these modular services is provided an API layer to be consumed. You can use it as a Java client, EJB, or over HTTP. And these APIs can then in turn be consumed to provide for the end user interface. Last but not the least, the third component of the platform is Bonita BPM Portal. This is the end user interface using which the users can manage and perform their task, and the administrators can configure and monitor the processes. In addition, we realize that sometimes organizations or customers have the need where they already have an existing portal and would just like to embed the forms or the just the end user interface into their existing portal. And for that, because we provide the API layer, you have the ability to consume these end user interfaces directly into your existing app, or just use the API and build your own user interface. So you have the flexibility to consume the processes designed as in multiple different ways per our architecture. So with that said, let's move on to and talk about living process. Today, with customers becoming the key decision maker or having the choice in their hands, more and more organizations are targeting customer satisfaction as their primary driver and area to be successful in. Because of the amount of competition in the market, it's extremely important that organizations change their outlook and be more customer directed. Now, while customer satisfaction is a simple word, underneath it there are a lot of things that organizations have to tune themselves to be successful. It doesn't just mean, it means being able to deliver new things quickly at a low cost with faster turnaround time and of high quality. And all of these aspects actually make the current environment very, very dynamic and demanding, where change is definitely inevitable. It is bound to happen. And systems that you design today don't last for years together as they used to in the past. And therefore there is a necessity for both people and processes to be flexible and adaptable. Rigid and structured processes can actually be quite limiting, and the way you design these processes for a very long time can actually become the anchors slowing your organization growth. So really the need of the hour is for organizations to have a flexible and adaptable working environment, again both in terms of people and processes, which is capable of continuous integration and improvement, so that organizations can stay ahead of the competition and reach out to their customers and keep them hooked on to the offering that you have. And for these very needs of flexibility and adaptability that we keep talking about, it is the idea with Bonita BPM that we want to encourage businesses to embrace the idea of processes being living or living process, which is going to prepare organizations for the next generation. And this living process, or the idea of living process, is the propeller that an organization needs to move ahead and stay afloat. So what is living process really? Living process by itself is a guiding principle or approach which emphasizes the need for processes to have the means so that you can break the rigidity and empower your end users to be able to provide feedback and continuously improve this process so that you get the best out of the efforts that you put in. For instance, today, BPM Suite, most of them are designed and provide you a great amount of flexibility when you set out to design your processes during the development phase. They give you a very good set of tools to be able to design quickly and do development faster. But what happens once you've developed and pushed these processes into production, you realize that you now, once you've deployed these processes or you are live, the rigidity or the structured nature of the product of the process does become a limitation. And you can do very little changes once the processes are deployed, and therefore every little change that your end users request means that you have to go back to the whiteboard, do those changes, get those changes done by the developers, and bring them back in, have a downtime, and redeploy these processes. Now, that's a cycle that you really want to minimize or optimize, and that's where the approach of living process fits in, wherein if a process has the flexibility once deployed to be able to adapt to exceptions or to be able to adapt to requirements which you did not initially think of, then it can give you much better boost in keeping your end users happy, because you can do those changes faster. So, as I said, living process is not just a series of features that's available to you, but it's more a philosophy or an approach which you should keep in mind while selecting and designing your processes, so that you as a business can run your IT systems more effectively. And to be able to build these living processes, really what you need is to leverage the tools and features available in the product that you choose to build something more interactive and more easy to change. And today what we're going to look at is, with Bonita BPM, how do you use a lot of the features available to build these living processes. And in fact, with Bonita BPM 6, that's been one of our major focus, to think about what happens once you put processes into production. What are the kind of issues that users will face, and how can you adapt to those changes? So some of the things that we're going to see today are ad hoc tasks. What happens when you have ad hoc tasks which you did not anticipate in the process model? As an end user, when you're working with the process and you realize something is not correct, how can you provide in-context feedback directly to the process owners so that the process is timely and quickly rectified? One of the most important aspects of a living process is the ability to measure and visualize your key business indicators. Now, to know how a particular application is, how your processes are behaving or working, and if they are optimal, it is extremely important that during process design, you start and think about what is it that you want to measure and make that measurement available to all the users so they can directly see and assess how the whole system is working, and therefore feel involved and concerned at the same time, making sure that they can improve and optimize the process going forward. And the last, again, a very important thing, as I mentioned earlier, is what is the kind of flexibility that you have in terms of configuring real-time some changes in the deployed process so that you can correct or rectify some issues that you see once you are in production easily. And all of these aspects actually make up for the flexibility that you need and thereby make your processes alive. So with that said, we're going to focus a lot more on the demo, and I'm going to talk through various elements of the living process that we just described when into the demo. So what do we have for you today? What we have is a customer support process where we have incorporated a lot of what we just discussed to make it living. So we have a customer who submits who's going to submit a case. Followed by that, the case then passes on to the support team in-house, and we have Helen Kelly, who's a support representative, who's going to analyze and try and resolve the case logged by the customer. But while she's trying to solve the case, she realizes that it's not really her expertise, so something is clearly wrong in terms of routing of the request from the customer to the support team. So what she does, she's going to send in a feedback to the process manager immediately, telling him that there is an issue. The cases are getting assigned incorrectly. William Jobs, who is the manager, on receiving this feedback from Helen, now is informed that something is not right. And instead of having to wait for a phone call or an email, which you can easily forget, Helen has raised it directly in the system. William receives it, and then he goes and looks at, logs into the system, looks at the dashboard, and he can see the feedbacks that have been logged by people using the process. Once he looks at the feedback that Helen has raised, he actually goes and directly using the Bonita features of configurable changes, he reconfigures the user mapping, as in which team members are assigned to solve which kind of request, real time. And once he does this real time, he's effectively solved Helen's problem. And after that, what we will see is after the reconfiguration, the task is automatically reassigned to Walter Bates, who's the right person to be solving this issue. Walter Bates gets the task, completes the task, and as soon as he completes, Helen and William can both then see the performance of how they have managed this particular customer request that had come in today. So this is the framework or scenario that we will look at today. As you can see, there are lots of different people involved, which is what usually happens in a real-life scenario. And as I do walk you all through the demo, we will take each aspect of this, and I will discuss a lot more on which features and how exactly can we achieve the scenario that we're talking about. So with that, let's move on to the demo. I'm going to switch over now to the Bonita BPM portal, and we will start this process. So while I'm switching over, do feel free, as we had said, to put in your questions in the chat box if you have any related to the product or related to this demo in particular, and we're going to dedicate some time towards the end of the webinar to answer those questions. So let's start with the customer submitting a new case. Now I have kept it simple, and what I'm going to show you is Jan Fisher is going to log in. Jan Fisher logs into the end portal, and she has the form to submit a new case. Now, of course, we can have, and we do have multiple mechanisms through which the support cast could come in through automatically through an email or through other mechanisms. But imagine this form embedded directly, on your web portal, using which the person is filling in a support request. So what have we got? We've got Jan, who's on the phone, who's a support center staff, and she gets on a call, and John's calling Jan, and he has an issue with his internet connection, so he gives him the detail over the phone, and Jan's going to put that down for further assessment by the actual support team. So we put in a little detail about John. We see what is the issue. So John's having issue with his internet connection. He has really low bandwidth, and therefore has logged in this request with his internet connection. The connection is too slow, and he cannot download. The internet connection is too slow to download movies from Kaza and eDonkey. Can you please help him? Alright, so that's the description. John's having an issue. Let's choose the right category. It's high severity. He really needs to be able to download movies, and if there's any attachment, then an attachment can be provided, and we're going to submit this request. So this is the request that we've gotten from Jan, and it's now logged into the system. So let me log out here, and what happens is when you do get this request, we automatically send a notification to the support staff, and the support staff in our case is Helen. So we're going to go and check Helen's inbox to see if she received an email. We'll give it a minute. There you go. So what the system has done is sent an email to Helen saying there's a new support ticket logged called limited bandwidth, and it's logged by Mr. John and is waiting for resolution. So can you go and check, because Helen is one of the people assigned to look at this request. So as said, she clicks on it, goes to the portal, and she's going to log in as Helen. And you can see as she logs in, what she's taken to is customer, a welcome page, which has a lot of information for Helen to look at. And let's look at how this welcome page is designed. So what Helen's got is, she's got a little view of all the tasks that are assigned to her, how many tasks, how many overdue tasks. So she gets a quick idea of how heavy her workload is. She has a list of all the applications, so she can directly start the applications from here. This section called business goal. Now this is an important one, and what this business goal is displaying in this particular case is the customer satisfaction score. And this customer satisfaction score is really an indicator of how has the organization been performing with regards to resolving customer issues, and the score is an indicator of how quickly they are able to revert back and resolve issues. So just looking at this, Helen can quickly say that most of the times they're just about doing above the threshold, which is at 70, and sometimes there's a dip, but the idea is to thrive and go more towards a higher customer satisfaction score. And what is the idea of showing this business goal to all the employees? Now, this is an important aspect of a living process, or a process that is living, is it's able to talk back to the end users and give them an indicator of how well they are doing. And a lot of times indicators like this are very motivating, or can improve your efficiency their own efficiency, sorry. And that's the importance of being able to show this final information to the end user, so that they are able to react and contribute better towards this process. At the same time, feel their involvement, because now Helen knows that whatever she does, her action has a direct impact on this customer satisfaction score, which she can see easily. So as I told you, what this process is, we've built into the process, built into the customer support process, an algorithm which allows a customer satisfaction scoring based on how quickly have you responded and resolved the issue. So if you're able to resolve an issue within a day, you get a score of 100, and slowly deteriorates. Now this algorithm is just an example. It is to show that you should be able to think of business goals when you're designing your process, and embed the right algorithm so that this kind of a quick indicator can be shown to your end users. Moving on, you can also see a listing of all the cases which is available to Helen. And of course, you can see here that this case which was just logged, the limited bandwidth one, is listed here, but also the case ID is listed and it's clickable. Now the idea is that using this dashboard, Helen can quickly see and also act on the case which is actually assigned to her. So before we go and I continue by taking the next action on the task, what you're seeing here, this whole welcome page that you see, is actually built using the feature called custom pages in Bonita BPM, which is a feature set that we've built in line with our idea of offering extensible portal or extensible end user interface for the users of the product, so that they can build or design a dashboard as is relevant to their business, because every business is different and their needs are different, and we definitely recognize that. Also, to build this custom page, really you have a lot of flexibility on choosing the technology that your in-house developers can use. For example, this custom page is built using Groovy and the Bonita Java APIs. However, you can choose to use plain old HTML and use the Ajax APIs to build this. Also, you know, if you want to use templating framework or any other front-end technologies that you are comfortable with, you can build them like an application and embed this directly into Bonita BPM. And with this now, you can actually, you're not limited to the end user interface that is offered or comes with the product, but you have the option to do custom development and build the interfaces that would please or is relevant to your end users. So with that said, I am going to now, as Helen Kelly, let's go on and look at this case. So she can see the case, but if you see, she looks at it and goes, oh well, this is really internet. And that's not her expertise. She is actually an expert at phone lines. So what she wants to do at this point is, I'm just going to go 1 minute to task and open the same case again. And she says it's internet, not her area of expertise. And what you can see here is, apart from the form on the left hand side, she sees a submit a feedback button right there. And Helen at this point realizes that, this is probably going to recur again and again, and that's not a good thing because it's just going to be wasting people's time. So at this point, she can easily click on this and submit a feedback which will go directly to the process manager. And with that, what you've just solved is, normally when this kind of an issue happens, it's now becomes Helen's responsibility to pick up the phone or send an email to somebody, and she doesn't know who, she might not know who the process owner is. And in all of that, what happens is it becomes a big deterrent for the end users to decide if they should really be taking that extra effort and giving feedback, or let it be and let somebody actually eventually figure out that something is wrong with it. So in order to avoid all of that and make the process really quick, what we've done, as you can see, is submit a feedback action which is embedded directly in the form. She can say it's wrong assignment. And put in a little message for the process owner just to save some time. I'm going to not type in, but just put in, I'm receiving tasks related to internet, though I'm a specialist on phone lines. The right expert is Walter Bates from Paris team, right? And she submits this request, submits this feedback, hoping that the process, it will actually get resolved. At the same time, what she's going to do is she can raise an ad hoc task directly for Walter Bates, informing Walter that this has happened and he really should be looking at it and sorting this out so that they can get the case resolved ASAP. Now so you can see the case, and now related to the case you can see that there is an add subtask button here. Now subtask is a feature that's available in Bonita BPM which allows you to create tasks on the fly even though you had not designed it in the original process design. So here what we're going to do is send in, what Helen is doing is creating an ad hoc task for Walter. I got assigned a bandwidth problem again. Could you handle it? Highest due date, she wants it to be resolved as early as possible, and then Helen can actually also assign this new subtask to Walter. So she raised a feedback and she also informed or created a new task for Walter saying, you know what, something not right has happened and there is a request waiting, so I would like you to look at it. Right? So she did the two actions, and also she's just going to release this task so it's available. Now, effectively, this is another aspect of a living process that I would highlight at this point, which is that the best way to receive feedback or make your processes that you've designed better is to empower the end users with features or capabilities so that they can provide you the right information and take right action when there is the need. So make them more autonomous in doing things and providing information, and using the subtask and the feedback capability. You just saw that she informed really quickly two sets of people on the issue that has occurred, and now we will go in and see how those two different people are going to behave. So first, let me log out here and log in quickly as Walter Bates just to show you. I'm going to log in and log out a number of times only because you know that there are a lot of users involved. So you can see this is the subtask that was raised by Helen, which is the internet bandwidth, and she's asking Walter she has a bandwidth problem and could you handle it. Now the important thing to watch here is just see that there is actually only one task at this point, which is the subtask that was raised by Helen, but the original task is still not assigned to Walter to work on. Okay, so we'll come back to Walter. in the meantime, let's log out, and I'm going to go back to the email. And what happens is when the feedback is raised, the system, the process is designed to send a feedback directly, an email directly to the process manager saying there is a new feedback. Okay, so William receives a new feedback saying there's a new process manager. Please have a look. You can go to the business goal dashboard and have a look at this. So William is now going to log into the system. And you can see that there is a new, slightly different dashboard which is available to William called the business goal. And this dashboard is specific to all the processes that William is the manager of, or William is the process owner of, because this information really should only be going to the process owner so that they can troubleshoot and look at these issues. So you can see all the processes listed here. And you can also see that apart from the goal that Helen could also see, the process owner or William can see the feedbacks and the subtask. Okay, so for a moment I'll take you back to the welcome screen as it's available to William, who's the process manager. So most of the information is exactly the same. You can see all the tasks that are open, how many are overdue, a listing of them, the customer satisfaction score. But in addition, because he's the process manager, he can see the feedback and the subtask as well. And he can see that there is one of each which is being raised by someone, any one of the end users working on the processes that he is a process owner for. Clicking on feedback, he actually gets this view. And you can see here feedback, it says wrong assignment, and it's raised by Helen. And she's receiving tasks related to internet, okay, but she's specialist, so clearly something is wrong. And there is an option here to manage this feedback. So William is going to open that, and he can look at all the data and the feedback, and he can choose to acknowledge it. And if it takes time, if this is a task, this is a feedback which is going to take time to resolve, he can just acknowledge and wait. Or if it's something that he can fix and close it. So what we're going to see in the demo today is he actually fixes the issue immediately and closes it, right? So he looks at the feedback, okay, he recognizes the issue. He can also see that there is a subtask, and he can see that Helen's been smart about it, and she has actually created a subtask for Walter, saying that she can Walter handle it instead. So another important thing is a lot of time, instead of letting your process owners deal with it, people on the ground who are working actually have a lot of information. They know who's an expert of what. So when they provide you that information, for example, Helen here said that internet is Walter's specialty. It actually is helping the process owner because he or she does not have to go and find out that information as to who is the internet specialist now. So, well, William looks at these two pieces of information, and now he's actually going to act on it. So this is an important aspect where we will see how you can make changes to a process that's deployed in production directly without having any downtime. So we're going to go into Manage Apps, and our application is case management. Our process is case management. So when I click on More, you can see here this is all the configuration data available on this particular process. So there is something about Process Manager. What is more important is actor mapping for us. You can see that in this process there are different categories of users or actors that are assigned to the process. So you have a advanced support team, you have somebody responsible for billing, infrastructure, internet, and support manager. So we know that the process manager knows that internet support category of actors has an issue because Helen is assigned to it, whereas the real person who should be assigned is Walter. Right, so we'll come back to it, but I also want to show you some other things when we scroll down a little bit on what other things can you actually configure. So other things that is available with Bonita BPM is a lot of times you have some business rules or technical parameters which you really want to externalize. And for that, when you design your processes, we have the capability or the ability for the designers to define these important configurable parameters as parameters, so that they are available in the task, and also you can actually edit them. So you can see, you know, we are talking about the business rules threshold for deciding the goal time, and that's actually externalized. So the response time threshold, if you want to increase or decrease, can easily be changed here, and it gets dynamically applied without you having to stop the process, go back and then fix these hard-coded parameters somewhere in your process and come back. So that's another aspect of flexibility that you have. In addition, one of my personal favorites is the connectors. Now, almost every process today has any process that you design is in some form or the other interfaces with external systems. It could be as simple as email, it could be as complex as an ERP for data, or it could be your HR system to get employee data, it could be your CRM, it could be any of various external systems that processes interface with. And when you are talking to external systems, when your processes are interfacing with external systems, one of the challenges always with a third-party system is that they do change. And sometimes there can be issues, sometimes there can just be plain downtime, sometimes they have upgraded and you want to use those new APIs because, you know, they might have fixed some issues or it's just more performant. And one of the challenges when you have external systems is that any change on them, it usually means that you have to go back and change your own implementation, and often because it needs downtime, it needs redevelopment, and it needs putting processes on hold, we try and delay those kind of upgrades. Now, what you also have the ability here is to, when you design your own connectors, which is your interface to the external systems, you have the ability to actually just do the development or the changes that you want for that external system without redeploying anything. You can just come to the process and put in a new implementation of the connector, which is now talking to the new third-party interface. So effectively, while it sounds, what I described sounds quite technical, what it effectively means is you do not have to take down your processes and have a downtime and redeploy them again if you want to just change something with your interfacing with the external system. All you can do is make that change, come in here to your live process, running process, and add the new implementation, and you can be confident that all the processes or tasks that will be executed after this point in time will take on the new implementation that you just put in. So with that said, let's go and come back to our demo, and we were talking about internet support. So let's see the users who are assigned to it, and we can see it's Daniela and Helen, but we know it should be, William knows it should be Walter really. So we're going to go to Walter, add Walter, and we're going to take off Helen Kelly. So with this now, what William has done is he's fixed the problem, and Helen is not going to receive any internet requests anymore. Okay, so let's see how this has taken effect. So he's fixed the problem. He can come back to his business goal. He looks at this feedback, and because he has fixed the issue, he can actually just open the feedback and say closed. So he's actually fixed the feedback right away. So now that he's fixed the feedback and he's reassigned tasks or reconfigured them to the right actor, I'm going to log out and log in as Walter, who is the person who's finally supposed to, expert who's supposed to handle our issue. And now you can see that with the reassignment that he did, the task automatically got assigned to him. He didn't have to do anything, or the process or the system did the reassignment dynamically based on the change that we made at the configuration level. So you can see that the changes are immediately applied. So what we're going to do is first just respond to the subtask that Helen has created. Sure thing. The task got reassigned. I will look into. Okay, so he says, okay, don't worry, Helen, I'm going to take care of it. And he also sees the actual task, and he's just going to say, okay, I'm going to fix this issue. I know what the problem is. Okay, and he's going to just say resolved. And you can see Walter has the same option of submitting a feedback, so he can actually go ahead and submit a feedback if he had other issues. But here for our simplicity, what we're saying is, yeah, there were some issues now being resolved. Internet connection should be fine. Movies. All right, so he's resolved the case and submitted it, and the case is actually resolved, and the person has been informed. So of course, because the case is resolved and Walter's done his job, we will look at one last thing, which is, let's log in as Helen Kelly now. And imagine Helen to be looking at the dashboard that she has. And I don't know if you noticed, but we had data till July 29th, and you can see July 31st, which is today, the score is at 100 because the team managed to resolve the issue in a day. And you can see that when Helen sees it, first of all, she can see that this task, which was earlier assigned to her, has actually been resolved. So she knows that Walter's done his job, which is great. And she can also feel her contribution in making sure that the customer satisfaction score is at a high because she reacted to the mistake that had occurred. So with this, you can see the various elements that that you have control of, or you can design to make your processes more more flexible, more interactive, and leverage the tools that are available in the BPM suite or with Bonita BPM to design processes which can give you or your organizations a better overall satisfaction for the end users. So that was part of, mostly part of the demo that that we had designed for you. Just as a quick recap, a lot of what you saw is one of the features here is to be able to design your custom dashboard and custom dashboard with the technology of your choice. And this is available as a feature called custom page in the product. You can also see that I have multiple different profiles which you can configure and assign users for. And this profile also is available in the product, which allows you to control access and have your interface defined as you would like. We saw subtask, which is to be able to ad hoc create tasks for other users in your organization so that you can collaborate better. We saw the ability to reconfigure various aspects like actor mapping, parameters, connector definitions on a running process which is applied immediately, so that when you have some small changes or rectifications to be done or business rules to change, you don't have to have a downtime and go back and do development and redeploy. You can actually change it while the processes and system is live. Also, you saw the ability to, for the process manager, which is a specific profile that is inbuilt in the product, who's capable of looking and managing all the processes that are assigned to him, and this feature can then be leveraged to do what you saw, which is in case of a person being a process manager, show additional information. And that is the kind of control that you can have to provide more information and relevant control to that particular person who's in that profile called process manager. So with that said, hope you found a lot of interesting elements in this demo, which is a way to show you how can you design a process which is more informative and helps you drive towards your organization goal. And just before we open up for Q&A, a quick last pointer that I would like to briefly talk about is the commercial offers that we have on the product. And the commercial offers, effectively the way our product, the Bonitasoft, the Bonita BPM offering is available is we have a community or an open source version which is completely free and is available for the download directly from our website www.bonitasoft.com. And this community edition actually comprises of all the 3 core components, which is the Bonita BPM portal, the Bonita BPM engine, and the studio. And on top of that, what we have is the Bonita BPM subscriptions, and these subscriptions come with additional features, which is primarily to help customers or users speed up or increase their development to production cycle and give them power features so that they can do certain activities and tasks faster. The subscription also, of course, includes the license, professional support, and software upgrades. And the subscription model, we have 3 different subscriptions. The first one is teamwork, which is, it starts at teamwork, which is primarily for team collaboration, giving you a lot of features like, shared repository when you're working with the Bonita BPM Studio, and a lot of development productivity features to help you go faster when you are actually developing your processes. Efficiency, which is end-user centric, giving you a lot of features which makes it easier for to build or customize your end-user interface for the final customers. So there's an advanced portal, also mobile, which is available in efficiency. Also, you saw custom pages and custom profiles, all of which makes the end-user interface more extensible and more adaptable, are available in our efficiency edition. In addition to that, we also have something called business process templates, which are effectively pre-built processes which are available so that you can download and see the best practices and get a kickstart in terms of implementing or rolling out that process in your organization. So the customer support process that we just saw, the base of that, without the custom pages, the base of that is actually a process template which is available to all our efficiency customers. And finally, the last subscription pack is known as performance, and this is for mission critical applications where you get support for clustering. You saw live reconfiguration that we just saw. You also have ability to do on-the-fly error management and replaying of tasks which has failed, and all of these come under our performance subscription to give you and your mission critical applications a quick boost in terms of managing and administering them. So with that said, that brings us to the close of the webinar. We've got 5 minutes to go, and I would like to take all your questions now. So if you have already put in your questions, I'm going to start looking at them and take those questions. But if you haven't so far and still have questions, please go ahead, type it in. We have time to take those, and I'll try and answer them as best as we can. All right. So while you send in your questions, I'm going to start looking at some of them. So the first question that I have is the view that we saw in the demo, which was the welcome page view. Is it implemented on the Bonita portal or as an external portal? Now, so the custom page or the dashboard that you saw was not on an external portal. It's actually embedded in the Bonita portal, but the way you built those custom pages is you have the option to use plain old HTML, and as I said, use APIs of Bonita, Java, or REST, and build those end user build the front end and directly embed it in Bonita. So it's not really an external portal. It's just your design of the front end integrated with Bonita portal. I have another question, which is when documents are submitted, effectively, can we use SharePoint for document management? Can we push documents to SharePoint if you have a document management system already? Yes, the answer to that is yes. There is a possibility using the feature of connectors to push these documents externally to CMS like SharePoint, Alfresco, or if you have any custom one, you can actually design your own connector to push the documents out. So yes, that's a definite possibility. I have another question on feedback. So we saw that when the user clicks on feedback, there was a form that was opening, and Helen was able to put in her feedback. So how was it done? Is it a different app, or completely different app hosted externally? So the answer to that is the way the feedback the feedback feature works is the feedback itself is another process that you can design using Bonita BPM, and that's what we've done. We designed another process for feedback management, and we integrated the two processes together by doing some look and feel changes so that the feedback process is initiated from within a customer support process. So they're all parts of the same, same application. They're both processes, just two different processes deployed within Bonita BPM, integrated using some look and feel changes. So this goes to show that sometimes you have the tools. It doesn't have to be an explicit feature. You can just leverage the existing features, and with some development, you can create a completely new feature for yourself. Question on, is the feature of dynamically editing parameters, so when you dynamically edit parameters, which could be used in our decision rules, available only to process owners and admin? What if we wanted a user to be able to change the rule parameter but not actor mappings or connector definitions? Okay, so the question here that I have is about what if the dynamic editing of parameters and actor mapping that was happening Is it available only to process owners and admins, or can we have it available to end users also directly without, just have part of the feature available? So the answer to that is today you do not have, we do not allow for, part of the configuration to be available, primarily because such configuration changes are quite important, and they can have a very big implication on your processes, like changing a business rule, or increasing, decreasing the amount, let's say, of invoice validation, or any business rule for that matter, and it has to be cautiously done. So therefore, currently it's the process owner and the admins who are really responsible for making these changes which affect the processes at that level. It's available to them, and we do not we're not allowing normal end users to be doing that. However, if you think that your end user is a person who should be able to do this, he really should be qualified into a special admin or a special process owner who can do that kind of just the parameter change. Or just the configuration change. So using that, you can use a feature called custom profile to build something like that, but it will not be divided by cannot do actor mapping and can only do parameter mapping. They will be able to do both, but you do have some flexibility to make a user not a complete admin but like a semi-admin. So that's possible using custom profiles. All right. There's one question on how are things displayed on mobile. Do I need to develop it separately? Well, you do have a mobile portal that is available, and in the mobile portal, of course, you have the out-of-box interface available, but the forms that you want to show that you are developing yourself, you don't need to develop it separately, but you just need to ensure that the forms that you're designing are mobile compatible. The web forms that you are designing have mobile compatibility. There's another question which is about, does Bonitasoft portal pages allow customers to make the changes they want for user interface without any limitations? I think that's a very broad question, because everything can have some limitations. So of course, I think there is a large amount of things that you can customize and make the changes yourself, but it depends on how much you want to do, and maybe you might encounter limitations, but it's very hard to answer that, it's a foolproof, no limitation solution. So with that, we slightly over, we still have a lot of questions coming in. We slightly over the time. I hope I've answered a lot of questions, but if there's still some questions left, we will try and get back to you with the answers on them. And if you have more questions, any more questions on the webinar done today or the product, please feel free to send us an inquiry, or talk to the sales representatives that you've been in contact with, and we'll try and get your questions answered as soon as we can. So with that, being cautious of time, I think we would have to close the webinar for today. But thank you very much for attending and staying with us for the webinar, and hope you did find it enjoyable and informative. And as I said, do feel free to get in touch with us if you have more questions, and we'll be more than glad to help you and assist you with any answers or queries you have. So that's it from us today. Have a great day, and a great evening if you're coming close to it, or a good start of the day if you're just starting your day. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next webinar that we have.